Okay. So this critique looks at excerpts from a YouTube video transcript. Basically, the creator's final word on Candace Owens, framed as a spiritual warning about, pride and influence.
Got it. A heavy topic.
Yeah, definitely. And we want to jump right into the first high-level point, which is really about completeness and focus.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed that too. It feels like, the main message, this big spiritual warning, it has power, but then it gets kind of weakened, maybe, by these other bits that pull you away?
Exactly. These defensive tangents, that's the weakness. The creator weaves in responses to critics. People saying he's obsessed, or after money, or getting checks from wherever.
Right. The Israel checks thing, or OB.
Yeah, exactly. And those are mixed right into this really high-stakes discussion about spiritual danger and, the cult of personality.
And that creates a bit of a whiplash for the listener, doesn't it? You're trying to process something deep, like the Icarus analogy, flying too close to the sun.
Yeah, heavy stuff.
And then boom, suddenly we're talking about specific dollar amounts, or hearing, still haven't seen a check from OB. It kind of shatters the mood, that serious, authoritative tone.
Totally. It's like you said, whiplash. 1 second, it's a grave warning. The next, it's administrative housekeeping almost. And if the goal is for this final message to really land with weight,
then you can't have the audience shifting gears from thinking about, repentance to trying to remember who OB is or tallying up payments.
So the suggestion then is really about structure. It's about isolating that self-defense stuff if you have to address the money thing or the obsession claims.
Which, I get it. Sometimes you feel you have.
Sure, but put it somewhere separate. Like wall it off. Create a defined section for it. That lets the main warning keep its prophetic weight,
Okay, so quarantine the defenses. Maybe. Like consolidate them? All the rebuttals obsession, money, those specific payments may be bundled into a short Q&A section, perhaps at the end?
That could work. Or another idea, maybe use an upfront statement. Just clear the air right at the beginning.
Like a cold open?
Exactly. Maybe the first, say, 30 seconds. Hey, before we dive into the serious warning I need to give today, let me quickly address these 3 things I keep seeing. Get it done.
I like that.
And then you launch into the core argument, the pride, the Icarus fall, and the audience knows that part won't be interrupted by bookkeeping.
Yeah, that sets expectations properly. It keeps the main message clean and stops listeners thinking, is he more worried about defending himself than delivering this warning? Okay. That makes sense.
So once we've got that focus tightened up, the next thing is about making the message hit harder and maybe wider, which brings us to the second critique area, angle and originality, and also significance and relevance.
Okay. So moving beyond just the core audience?
Kind of. It's about how these really powerful allegories, the biblical ones, the classical ones, they need clearer bridges to, let's say, universal human experience. Psychological concepts, moral ones.
Because the raw material is fantastic, right? Icarus, Nebuchadnezzar, and that one insight about pride being rooted in fear? That's brilliant.
Totally brilliant. But the weakness is these ideas get introduced and then almost immediately pivot to a very specific spiritual conclusion. Judgment, the reprobate mind, God's sovereignty.
Right. So it kind of assumes the audience is already fully on board with that theological framework?
Exactly. Instead of, maybe, building the moral or psychological case first, using things anyone can observe about human nature.
And it feels like there's a missed opportunity, because the creator gives us the perfect bridge, doesn't he? That personal bit about addiction.
Oh, that part is incredibly powerful. Sin tastes different now, comparing it to being an addict, where first the drug works, then it just becomes depressing, bondage, paranoia.
Yes, that's it, that feeling. Chasing something that then turns on you. Everyone understands that on some level. Faith or no faith, it's a universal pattern.
Absolutely. So the suggestion is, lean into that more. Spend real time unpacking the psychology of pride. Use that addiction analogy as the frame. Connect chasing influence online to that same compulsive cycle.
Okay, so map the addiction pattern onto the pursuit of influence. The initial hit, the dependence, the misery, the delusion.
Yeah, show how seeking more subscribers, more influence can become that same trap. Detail the observable behaviors mentioned in the video, the manipulation, the make-believe stories as symptoms of that addiction to influence.
I see. So you build that secular psychological case first, that addiction framework.
Right. And then you bring in Nebuchadnezzar or talk about spiritual judgment. It makes the warning feel relevant to anyone dealing with power or influence, not just Christians.
It broadens the so what significantly. Okay, concrete examples. How would that look?
Well, like when talking about Icarus falling, instead of jumping straight to divine judgment, maybe emphasize the observable crash first.
The melting wings as what? Loss of credibility? Descent into paranoia?
Exactly. Use the behavioral shifts mentioned, like the move towards conspiracy theories about assassinations involving Trump or the FBI, as a visible evidence of the wings melting. Show the psychological breakdown, the delusion, before you label it spiritually.
So the fall becomes tangible, psychologically real, regardless of the audience's belief system. You're showing the mechanics of self-destruction fueled by pride.
It anchors the spiritual concept in observable reality, gives it more weight.
Okay, that's a strong suggestion. Makes the message much more portable.
Right. Now, the third and final critique point ties into this a bit. It's about tone and style.
Tone and style. Okay, what's the issue?
There's a kind of emotional clash. A real disconnect, actually. The creator says he feels pity and compassion.
Yeah, I remember that. I genuinely feel pity, and I do not want to see it happen to anybody. That came across.
It did, but then almost in the next breath, the language becomes extremely specific and, well, condemning, talking about one demon left and 7 worse ones came back, or the person being given over to the reprobate mind.
And the flat statement, this woman is gone.
Exactly. And that direct, harsh judgment clashes quite violently with the stated empathy.
Okay, but let me push back slightly. If the creator genuinely believes these theological concepts, the reprobate mind, spiritual warfare, isn't he required to speak with that level of certainty? Isn't watering it down compromising the warning itself?
That's a really fair point. And the goal isn't to ask him to change his theology. It's more about the application of that theology in the rhetoric. Does the way it's delivered support the stated compassion or undermine?
Okay. So the potential weakness is that the tone of the judgment, applied so definitively to one person, makes the message feel less like a reluctant warning and more like maybe a harsh verdict. Almost celebratory judgment.
That's the risk. It could alienate listeners who might otherwise hear the warning about the message itself. They might just hear the condemnation of the person.
So it damages the credibility of the pity he claims to feel.
Precisely. So the suggestion is to adjust the language slightly. Keep the focus squarely on the danger of the message and the consequences for the listeners, the audience, the church, rather than making these absolute pronouncements about the subject's internal, personal, or frankly, eternal state.
Focus on the dangerous path, not the final destination of the person on it.
That's a great way to put it. And the creator actually gives us a tool for this, his own 80-20 principle.
Right. Even if it was 80% truth and 20% lies, that's still enough lie to corrupt.
Yes, lean on that. Frame the danger around that principle. It keeps the focus on the risk to the consumer of the content, which is verifiable, rather than speculating about, I don't know if she ever had the spirit, which is not.
Okay, that makes sense. It keeps the critique sharp but focused on the impact. And, for concrete example, how does that affect, say, the ending?
Well, to maintain that thread of compassion, maybe frame the final prayer differently. Not as a conclusion like, this woman is gone, which sounds final.
But more as a continued hope?
Exactly. A continued plea for that smack dab bam head damn near cracked on the ground moment, that wake-up call. Reinforce the idea that, as he says elsewhere, there will always be an opportunity.
So the prayer becomes an expression of hope for repentance, not a declaration of damnation. That aligns better with the stated pity.
I think so. It avoids that jarring shift from, I feel sorry for you, to, you are beyond hope. That shift can make listeners stop hearing the warning and just focus on the harshness.
Right. Keep the focus on the danger of the message, the risk to the audience, and the hope for repentance. Okay, that feels consistent.
So, yeah, those are the 3 main areas we identified for really maximizing the impact here, taking what's already strong and making sure it lands effectively.
Okay, so let's recap quickly. First, focus. Clean up the structure. Get those defensive bits out of the main flow.
Maybe a cold open, maybe a section at the end. Keep the core warning uninterrupted. Second, relevance and angle. Build stronger bridges for those powerful allegories like Icarus. Use universal concepts, especially that great addiction analogy, to connect pride and influence to observable psychology before getting purely theological. Broaden the reach. Got it? And third, tone. Make sure the stated compassion isn't drowned out by the judgmental language. Focus the sharp critique on the message's danger and the risk to listeners, not definitive statements about the subject's soul. Keep that door open for hope.
Exactly. Just a few adjustments, really, to help amplify the message and make sure that powerful warning resonates as widely and clearly as possible.
Sounds like a good plan.
We genuinely think this material has a lot of potential, and we encourage the creator to rework these points. Please feel free to submit it again once you've had a chance to integrate this feedback. We'd be happy to take another look.